sound on.
No, yeah, but this is because the volume was up on this because I was showing YouTube on this today.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's it. Go on.
I was using it for YouTube.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's our fault. Part of the fires in LA are our fault.
La 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 la
We turn on the same page 126, to Yedid Nefesh.
Yedid nefesh afarachaman, Yedid nefesh afarachaman, Meshoravtecha, el retzonecha, Meshoravtecha, yalai lai 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 lai, el retzonecha. Yarutz avtecha, kemo yad, yishtachavi lai lai lai, ya lai 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 lai, emol hadarecha. Yedid nefesh afarachaman, Yedid nefesh afarachaman, Meshoravtecha, el retzonecha, Meshoravtecha, ya lai 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 lai, el retzonecha.
On page 127, on the facing page. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is the duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, and day of peace. And especially as a sense of peace as we enter into the sanctuary this evening. And we head to our prayer books, our Siddur, page 131, to Shirul Adonai.
Shirul Adonai, Shirul Shir Hadash, Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz, Shirul Adonai, Shirul Shir Hadash, Shirul Adonai, Kol Haaretz, Shirul Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru miyom leyom Yeshuato, Shirul Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru miyom leyom Yeshuato, Shirul Adonai, Shirul Shir Hadash, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, שירו שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, פסרו מיום ליום ישועתו, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, פסרו מיום ליום ישועתו.
The following page, page 132, Or Zarua.
Or Zarua לצדיק וליש לב שמחה. Or Zarua לצדיק וליש לב שמחה. Or Zarua לצדיק וליש לב שמחה. וליש לב שמחה. Or Zarua לצדיק וליש לב שמחה. וליש לב שמחה. We managed to do it without Michael.
Let us turn forward to Lechado D, page 138.
Lecha lecha dodi, lekat lekat kala, panay panay Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, lekat lekat kala, panay panay Shabbat nekabela. La 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 lecha dodi, lekat lekat kala, panay panay Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, lekat lekat kala, panay panay Shabbat nekabela. Shamua v'zachor b'dibur echad, ishmiyanu Elam yuchad, Adonai echad, Hashamu echad, L'Shem ultiferet v'letil la 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 la, lecha dodi, lekat lekat kala, panay panay Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, lekat lekat kala, panay panay Shabbat nekabela. Lekrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, ki makor habaracha, merosh mikedem naisacha, sof maaseh b'machshavat la 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 la. Lecha dodi, lekat lekat kala, panay panay Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, lekat lekat kala, panay panay Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki v'olah kumi uri, 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 sheyadaberi, v'hu ha'malalavi, halalalalalalala. Lecha dodi, lekat lekat kala, panay panay Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, lekat lekat kala, panay panay Shabbat nekabela.
We rise.
Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, gam b'simcha u'b'tzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, boi chala. Lecha lecha dodi, lekat lekat kala, panay panay Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, lekat lekat kala, panay panay Shabbat nekabela. La 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 lecha dodi, lekat lekat kala, panay panay Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, lekat lekat kala, panay panay Shabbat nekabela.
As we have welcomed Shabbat with Lechado D, we now welcome Shabbat with the lighting of our Shabbat candles and our candle of hope. And Gina is going to light our Shabbat candles with the blessing. Those of you who know Gina, I'll let Gina share her story, but
Yes.
Judith is going to come forward and actually light the candles.
Yes. Those who know me know that I've got a fire phobia. So in our house, we light candles, but they are battery-operated candles for Shabbat, for Havdalah, for Hanukkah. And so I asked Judith tonight to help me. She kindly agreed to do. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu, lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Let's take a moment turning to those around us, wishing one another a Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. I was looking up the name of somebody.
Do that.
Oh, I can't do that.
Shalom, how are you?
Shabbat Shalom to you
Shabbat
too.
Shalom. I wasn't sure if you wanted me to out you or not.
No, I would have outed myself just to explain it.
So friends, just as we are seated, I'd just like to welcome a couple of people who, some are new, some are relatively new to services. So new to services tonight, we have Carolyn Nercessian, thank you. So thank you for joining us, and you're here with your friend Deborah Vega. So thank you for joining us tonight. Now, are you going to be staying in Perth, or are you going on to Kalgoorlie?
I have on Tuesday, but I'll be back.
You'll be backwards and forwards. I don't know many Americans living in Kalgoorlie. There might be one or two.
We're not any Jews in Toronto
Or Americans. So we look forward to seeing much more of you, both of you. So welcome. And Paula, it's lovely to have you in Shul. And it's nice to have you here. And Sean Raymond, lovely to have you here. Alex, you've been here many times by now. You've been with us a year, so I don't have to welcome you. Anybody who, anybody else who's new? No? Everybody else is, I won't use the word old. Not everybody's old. Definitely not you, Jeffrey. And welcome back, Judith, from Sydney. It's lovely to have you back, and happy birthday for last Sunday that you celebrated in Sydney. It's just lovely to have you back in our community. And Robbie, I got to see you in Rockingham. If it wasn't for your motorbike, I don't know if I would have recognized you. We were just driving by, and Noah shouted, "There's Robbie!" So, well, welcome everybody. Let me take a moment to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional lands of the Wajak people of the Noongar Nation and pay my respect to elders past and present. Let us turn now to Shalom Aleichem in our prayer books in our Sidurim, which we can find on page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Borachim Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bahuni leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zethem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Let us rise for the Chatzi Kadesh on page 144.
Yekadal ve'yekadash me'ava, ve'alma tivak re'utei ve'amlech machotei, v'chayeh chol ufyom echon, ufrahei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, u'bizman karif, ve'yikru amen. Yesh me'ava mevorach, le'olam l'almei amaya, yitbarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach, yitchar v'yitchuman v'yitnasei, v'yitala, v'yitale, v'yitalal, shmei v'kodeshav re'hu, le'ela min kol v'chatza v'shi'erata, tushbekata v'nechemata, ta'amiram ve'amach, ve'imru, amen. Baruch et Adonai, HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach, HaMevorach, le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach, le'olam va'ed.
The blessing for the evening on page 148. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach sharim, u'bitbunah meshane yitim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'msader et hakochavim, b'mishmarotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom u'mevi layla, uma'avdil ben yom u'ben layla, Adonai tzavaot shamo, El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amecha avta, Amcha avta, Torah u'mitzvot, Hukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadata, Otanu limadata. Al kain Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu ופקומנו נעשייה בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו, ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, נגי יומם ולילה. ואהבת רע אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
We may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וכשאתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
On page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages,
time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, lie, la 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 lie, la lie, 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 lie. Mi kamocha bailim Adonai, mi kamocha neda bakodesh, no hatilot o sefel, no hatilot o sefel. Malchutecha ra'u banecha, בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך
ברוך
אתה
אתה
אדוני
אדוני,
גאל
גאל
ישראל.
ישראל.
Let's turn forward to page 160 to our prayer for protection and shelter.
השכיבנו אדוני, אלוהינו לשלום, העמידנו מלכנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני, אלוהינו לשלום, העמידנו מלכנו לחיים.
ברוך אתה אדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. And so as we turn forward to Vishamru, and just before we do, as we just shared that blessing for protection and shelter, we can't imagine how many people in California at the moment are feeling so insecure. You see the pictures of Los Angeles, and it just looks as if the whole city is on fire. I know many shuls, many congregations are not having services, are unable to have services, certainly in the valley. That's where Josh Aronson, who is a rabbi here, he's at Temple Judea in the valley, and some of the other congregations around that area. I know that many of his congregants would be deeply impacted and affected from living around there, and certainly along through Pacific Palisades into Malibu, and then down that coast. As you know, I lived in LA for 4 years when I was studying, so know that area very, very well, and have lots of friends and colleagues. And just before I got on the beamer, I said to Gina, because I got a notification when I was walking into services, a news notification, and I said to Gina, I said, those fires are all our fault. And what I meant was, it's not our fault as the Jews, because no doubt we're going to be blamed for it, but meaning that it's a lot of the eucalyptus trees that are being caught up in the flames, and so easily they catch fire so easily, and they were transported from here to California because they're so good with water. But yet, when they are California right now, it's very dry. They have dry, so certainly Southern California, and those trees they go up, as we know from our bushfires here. And they were certainly where I lived in Northern California on the peninsula. Wherever you went, there were eucalyptus trees. They were everywhere. So you certainly felt at home. I felt at home amongst the gum trees, and you could smell. But unfortunately, this is also one of the things that's feeding in. So that's what I meant by it's our fault. Yeah. You probably thought
I thought you meant the Jews are going to get the blame for it, because that's what usually happens, you know.
We probably will. So we can only hope that the loss of lives will not be significant, if at all. I know there have been a few deaths, but there are lots of people who are going to be without houses, without homes, never mind a house, but without a home through this tremendously difficult time. And as we know, this is one of the hottest years on record, in recorded history, we should say. So we certainly do offer them a blessing of shelter and of peace in an extraordinary way, as our heart goes out to all people living under fire threats. And we've still got our summer to go through. And we used to send, you probably know this better than I, Australia used to send aeroplanes and personnel over, and we just can't afford to do that anyway, because we need to keep people here, and now we need to keep our aeroplanes local. And countries can't do that anymore because of how much the climate has changed. Every country almost has to become self-sufficient to fight these natural disasters. And on that, as we return to really understand what the rest of what Shabbat means in terms of rest and peace and not taking for granted what we have with Vishamru on page 162.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We rise now for the Amidah on page 164, and the first three blessings will be out loud together, and then we continue silently, reading either the right or the left-hand side of the page, coming together with Oseh Shalom on page 180.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufiyagi tehilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufiyagi tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah HaElyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'konei HaKol V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot U'mevii Geula Lifnei V'nechad למען שמו ביערה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן עולם בעזרת צרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי הכל לא טרף להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל. מחלקל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סובב כנופים ורופא עולים, ומרתיע אסורים, ומפעליהם אמונתו לשני עפר, יקרא חלל גבורות, ומדור מלך נביא תומך
Yom Yahalalu Chasela, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaChadosh. Picking up on page 172, we continue to page 180. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי וגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו, אמרו, אמן. יא לי 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 לי, יא לי 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 לי, יא לי 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 לי, יא לי 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 לי, יא לי 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 לי, יא לי 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 לי, יא לי 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 לי, יא לי 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 לי, עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו, אמרו, amen.
May God bring peace to the entire world, and let us say,
Amen.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom once again, everybody. Good Shabbos. So what I wanted to share with everyone tonight and is a little bit about the Parsha, the Torah portion, Vayechi. And the Torah portion this Shabbat ends the book of Genesis and all the Bereshit, all the Genesis stories, and ends from going from the creation through Noah, through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and essentially sets the scene, almost not quite, for Moses and the book of Exodus, which begins next Shabbat. And of course tomorrow, as we lift the Torah, we're going to say Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek, and with strength and strength, let us be strengthened. Well, we will be strengthened, and to say, yay, we've done this part, and now we're going into this part now. And one would think that by the end of the Joseph stories, because this, in a sense, completes the Joseph stories, and Joseph had said that when he dies, that his bones must be taken out of Egypt and must be taken to the promised land. and they must go. They get buried, but they must also then be taken with. And but Joseph hasn't died just yet. But we've got the blessing in this week's Torah portion of the 12 sons, Jacob's 12 sons. Jacob is on his deathbed. And the blessing of the 12 sons. I don't know why they're called blessings, and you've heard me say that from the Bema, because each of those sons gets something completely different. And it's more about Jacob telling Israel, telling each of those sons, this is your personality trait. And literally says to one son, you're a wild ass. Like, that's your person, you know. And to one other, it says, you have blood on your hands. Right? It says to another one, you're going to be a great leader. I'm not going to go through all 12. Obviously, he doesn't bless Dinah, his daughter. Dinah's left out. And as you would have seen in Mar Chadash this week, I mentioned about the blessing of Ephraim and Manasseh. If anybody had a chance to read it, I'm not going to assume everybody reads everything I write, although it's brilliant every time, I know. Why are you laughing? You should say, yes, Rabbi. Yes, Rabbi. Without sarcasm, Sarah. Yes, Rabbi. Something strange happens. And you would think with all the Jacob stories and the Joseph stories that they would learn from their mistakes. But something strange happens. Yes, that's what it's funny how I know what that means. You could be doing some kind of strange ritual. When really Joseph should be blessing his own children. But his father, as I mentioned, Jacob does the blessing. And what happened with Jacob when he was blessed by Isaac? Esau should have got the birthright, right? Esau should have got the birthright, and he didn't. It went to Jacob. So Jacob now skips, he obviously gives Joseph his blessing, and then says to Joseph, bring me your sons. I'm going to give your sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, a blessing. And so he brings them forward, and instead of giving Manasseh with his strong hand on the right, because that was considered the strong hand, the firstborn, the blessing, and Ephraim, the second blessing, he does this. He crosses his hands over. Joseph wants to correct his father, goes to correct his father, and tells him, he says, not so, father, Joseph says to his father, for the other is the firstborn, place the right hand on his head. But his father objected, saying, I know, my son, I know. He too shall become a people, not unlike what happened with Esau. And he too shall be great, yet his younger brother, this is the repetition of history, his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his offspring shall be plentiful enough for nations. And now this is the blessing. You tell me what this blessing means. Because I read the commentary. So he blessed them that day, saying, actually this is more, I don't know what's more comfortable. By you shall Israel invoke blessings, saying. This is what he's saying. God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. Thus he put Ephraim before Manasseh. And that's it. That's the whole blessing. And that's the blessing that we say today. May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. For girls, we say, may God make you like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. V'simech Elohim kasara Rivka, Rachel, Leah. So what does that blessing mean? Now, these are the grandchildren. May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. This is what we're supposed to do on a Friday night at the blessing of our children at the Shabbat table. I do it with Noah. I don't do the boy blessing, I do the girl blessing. What does that mean? God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh. Ephraim, Manasseh. What does that mean? It's bizarre, isn't it? And when I looked it up with the commentators, the commentaries, they didn't actually explain that. They said, they explained, well, the names. Manasseh means, I forgot what Manasseh means, but it wasn't very poetical and it wasn't very nice. But Ephraim means like a double portion. Right? Does that sound right, Jeffrey? Yeah. So I was thinking to myself, and I came up with the only logical reason that a 21st rabbi could come up with. God is saying, may God make you like Ephraim, to Ephraim. May God make you like Manasseh, to Manasseh. May God make you exactly like you are. Be yourself. Reminds me of a Bluey episode. I got a 5-year-old. Be yourself. Be Manasseh. Be Ephraim. And at that point, maybe he had learned from his mistakes. He was imparting all of this advice about, don't be a nudnik or be a mensch. He said, be yourself. Maybe he was being a 21st century Jew or Israelite. Be holy, be fully Manasseh, be holy, be fully Ephraim. And I thought, what a beautiful blessing that really is. Reach your potential in who you are. Now I'm adding a little bit more. Or maybe they were too young because we don't really know. Jacob was 130 at that time in biblical years. Maybe they were a little bit too young to actually know exactly what their personalities were going to be. But it was the camp of Ephraim that took the leadership wherever the Israelites camped in the wilderness. There's nothing wrong with Manasseh, but the camp. So be who you are. Grow to your full potential in who you are. Respect and honor who you are. And I'm also adding, and others will respect you for that. Shabbat Shalom. Bernie, I'm going to invite you to open the ark for Aleinu as we think of Maggie, as she's heading into surgery soon, and our hearts are with you and her. Page 586. Let us rise. Yeah, I'm about to.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצא את הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושרינתו זו בגופי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא
So as we turn to the Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, on page 598, we take a moment to think of as part of the Shiva, the father and son, and I think it's been confirmed that the son has died. Yusuf and Hamza Ziyadna, the Bedouins who were found in the tunnels by IDF the last few days, part of Shiva. We have no names for the Shloshim, but the yard sites, we remember Lena Levinson, grandmother of Joy Rourke, Margot Magnus, aunt of Helen Bryant, Rabbi Brian Fox, friend of this congregation and of the Australian Jewish community and friend of Helen Bryant, Keith Loon, husband of Alison, Marion Maisel, mother of Judith Arkwright. And Judith, would you like to speak tonight or tomorrow?
I won't be coming here tomorrow.
Okay. So would you like to say a few words?
Just a few words, yes. My mother, Marion Maisel, was born in Sheffield, England, and came to Perth with her parents and older siblings when she was 3 years old. And much later, when she became an older teenager, she started learning singing. And after a number of years, when her voice matured, she became one of the top mezzo-soprano singers in Perth. She did regular ABC broadcasts for the ADC, and she did opera, oratorio, and musical comedy during her singing career. When her career finished with her singing, she took up bridge, and she became a bridge champion, and golf and did pottery. And in her twilight years, she spent her last time at the Morissette home, and she lived to 100 years.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you. So as we continue with the yard sites, we remember David Fisher, brother of Carol Parsons, Max Magnus, father-in-law of Barbara Goldstein, Judith Mayer Copeland, great-aunt of Hannah Mayer Anderson, and Celia Crennan, mother-in-law of Karl Antonovsky. If you would like to remember a loved one for Shiva, the 7 days of mourning, Shloshim, the 30 days of mourning, or yard sites, the anniversaries of whose death fall on this Shabbat, I invite you to share your loved ones' names out loud or in your heart at this time. Would you like to say a few words? You don't have to. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may the memory of the righteous be for a blessing as we join together in the Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yikadash Shemei Rabbah, v'yamad divrach hiritei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon uvyom echon, uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru.
Amen.
Yahei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitada v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei d'kudasha b'richu. Le'elam min kol bechata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Damiran b'yalma v'yimaru.
Amen.
Yahei Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, uyaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru. Amen. Hamakom yenachem echem b'toch sha'ar havlei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May the source of peace send peace to all who are mourning, and comfort to all who are bereaved in Zion and Jerusalem and around the world. And let us say,
Amen.
Amen. Just a couple of announcements before we head to Adon Olam, which is on page 625. You can put your finger in there. Tomorrow morning, services as normal at 10:30, followed by the coffee club at Flora on 10th. Monday, Mahjong at 12 o'clock. And then don't forget, there's still an opportunity to come along. Just let me know if you're going to join the farewell morning tea for Sue. As we know, Sue Woods is heading off to Queensland to be with her grandson, Andrew. And of course the rest of the family, not just him. So let us know. This month's schmooze, and Di really wanted me to let people know that Maggie Helfgott, or Margaret Helfgott in her performance name, will be playing for schmooze this month. So very exciting that she'll do a performance. It's called Encore Musical something. But you know, Margaret is Margaret is very talented on the piano, like her brother. So please come along to that. Adon Olam, page 625.
Adon Olam asher malach בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא וחפצו כל. Sorry, I did that wrong, didn't I?
Yeah.
I jumped a line. Adon Olam asher malach בטרם כל יציר נברא אדון עולם לעת נשא וחפצו כל. אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא וחפצו כל. אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא אדון עולם. והוא היה, והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה אדון עולם, אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא וחפצו כל. אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשלו להכבירה אדון עולם, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה אדון עולם, אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא וחפצו כל. אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצורך לי בעת צרה אדון עולם, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא אדון עולם, אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא וחפצו כל. אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם, בידו אף כית רוחי, בעת תישן ואירא אדון עולם, ועם רוחי גווייתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא אדון עולם, אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא וחפצו כל. אזי מלך שמו נקרא אדון עולם.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
A goodie and an oldie. Shabbat Shalom.